But this girl is deciding she's got to create some drama, and I'm curious, like, I'm trying to figure out why. Why is it that they have to defy logic and create drama?
There's one thing that's interesting is the late great Patrice O'Neill. He loved fish, right?
Right.
And he had this 400-gallon tank of African cichlid fish. These African fish, right? Now these fish are probably the most aggressive fish. They're even more aggressive than piranhas, but they don't feed in schools. They're very individual. So now what's interesting about these fish is that you when you set the tank up, right, you have all the fish in, and they chase each other around and try to kill each other. So
right.
You put the rocks in, and then based on the hierarchy, who's alpha and who's beta, whatever, is they pick their spots.
Right.
In these rocks. They're very territorial.
Right.
If you take another fish and you drop the fish in there, right, the other fish will chase him down and nip at his fins until he can't swim. They'll just keep eating off the fins until he can't swim, and then they'll eat his eyes out, and they'll kill him.
Right.
Right? So that's how aggressive these fish are. But the interesting about the fish, they come from a lake in Tanzania, a couple of lakes, and the lakes are part saltwater. Saltwater feeds into the lake.
So it's part saltwater, part fresh.
And then there's people, there's bacteria, and because of people there, the Africans at that place will use it to shit in and wash.
AIDS water.
It's awful water. But this is their environment, so they've ultimately got accustomed to this water. The type of water that they swim in is called brackish, so they are considered brackish fish.
Right.
Now, you can have a brackish bitch that she's accustomed to now. Patrice and I are real close. I remember him. He actually had he cleaned the tank out. He put fresh, clean water in the tank, and the fish would not move. They couldn't even swim. They couldn't breathe. They couldn't move. He actually lost a couple of fish really expensive fish that he had in his fish tank.
They're paralyzed
because it was more important for them to be in shitty water than it was in clean water. And so that's the point. Is that you got these brackish bitches that are accustomed in their life, in their household, in their family. The way they communicate is aggressive. The way it's everything is
that's the
volatile,
only way they know how to survive.
And that's what they're comfortable. And you would think being in a better situation would be better for them, but it's not, because the change of the fear of being in a situation that's different and clean and positive is more painful than actually staying where they are in this bunch of brackish bitches.
The effort, they don't want to make the effort. Yeah,
well, it's just fear. It's just really a comfort.
Yeah.
It's what, change is always pain. So change is always, it takes a lot of energy. We talk about the principle of inertia. Things that in motion tend to stay in motion. Things at rest tend to stay at rest. So when you are the way you are, it's much more difficult to change things that are sitting still than things that are moving. And when somebody is accustomed to certain the volatility, the chaos, the drama, they tend to go to that drama. So
okay.
and they always go to that, to the point where some people can't function
without drama.
Yeah, so you get an abusive chick, and she gets a nice guy, and she does not know how to act because the guy's too nice. Because she already thinks she's worthless, and she needs to be treated as if she's worthless. And you try to treat her like she's somebody, and ultimately
she can't comprehend that.
She can't comprehend it, and she ultimately see the other thing about what I've learned about abusive women, and not just abusive women, but abusive people. Abusive people, in any abusive relationship, there's the abuser and the abusee. And those are the two archetypes. Now, if you do not fill the position of being the abuser, the archetypes still need to be fulfilled.
Right.
So she will take the position of being the abuser, and you will take the position of being the abusee just by default. And we talk about this over and over again, how not making a decision is still a decision not to choose.
Right.
So if you don't choose to be abusive, she will abuse you.
Right.
And so this might be the situation is you look into her household. I mean, I've dated chicks who they're in their home. That's how they communicated. They just my ex from college, her and her sister would argue. And she would be like, "You took my sweater," and she's like, "Bitch, that's why you had an abortion." And you'd be like, "Whoa!" Like, she'd be like, "That's why your girlfriend's a dyke." And I was like, and they were just abusive. But the household was abusive. There was physical abuse from the mother, and this is just how they communicated.
That's just how they function normally.
And the amazing thing about these human beings is how we can get accustomed to unbearable pain, emotional pain, and physical pain. And so because that's just, you either die or you adapt. So
right.
So I think that might be the reason why she's.
I think, from my end, I think it's I don't know if it's a very abusive household, but in my head, I think it's just more I want to be nice and I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I feel like guy number one is there because he was guy number one.
But here's the thing with that is passive aggressiveness is still abusive.
Oh, okay.
When you got a kid and you're not teaching the kid the tools that they need to grow up, all you're doing is you're choosing not to choose. Again, the same principles over and over. Choosing not to choose. And by you choosing not to choose, not to discipline or give your child the tools that they need to be productive citizens, all you do is push them out the door in a situation, in a world that's not going to give a fuck about them.
Right.
And so the world abuses them because they're inequipped to deal with the situations at hand. So the abuse happens, and just because it's the abuse is not directly at the parent's hand because the parent has coddled them or enabled them. Ultimately, what you do is you send them out there, and then they get abused by the environment. The environment abuse. It's just like, well, I'm not going to do nothing to my kid, but I'm going to push him out in 10-degree weather and not give him a coat.
Right. Yeah, you're still.
So the environment,
terrible, right?
Which is, and you'll be like, well, just go out and have it. You haven't taught your kid that he needs to have a coat on and cover, and then he's got frostbite. So you didn't give him the frostbite, but you facilitated it.
Right.
So even that enabling and stuff, it's still abusive.
Right. Okay. I got it.
So I think what he has to do is he has to say, listen, I deserve better. I wouldn't even say I deserve it. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. Not even if you do this, I will do this. I'm leaving.
This is what's going to happen.
I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Because you also don't want to be manipulative for the sake, like real game is no game at all.
Right.
This is not good for me. His decision is to stay and put up with it or leave.
Right.
His decision is not to strategize so that she changes her mind. So what the decision that he has in hand is to stay or leave. So that's the decision he has to make. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I'm not putting up with this. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Now, something happens after there's a renegotiation after that, that's fine. But he has to have a forward thinking to understand that he's making a decision with the intention to walk away because he thinks he's better than this.
Right.
And that is it. No other thought process behind it. Now, if there happens to be a thought process after that, she says, I don't want you to go, I'll do this or go. Well, then you talk, but you can't. So you don't want to play the game in a situation
he shouldn't even go into it thinking that he could lose her, even though he can. I mean, he's got, but just say in theory, someone
get high on your own supply.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's how you get caught. You think you're playing this game. You got to understand what your decision is, and your decision is to stay and put up with it or leave. That's your only decision.
But you got to be willing to risk that.
What's that Beige Phillip rule? You got to be willing to take the L.
Right. And then the thing is, it's so hard for people to do that, but you got to remember that that's the way you get more wins, by walking away. It's really astonishing, especially like in showbiz.
Right.
The more you say no to shit,
the more they
can't stand it.
And
You're up your stock.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's crazy about that is this people fear somebody that's willing to go all in. I mean, that's why we bombed the Japanese at Hiroshima, because you had dudes who were willing to put explosives in their cab,
right?
Weld the cab, and then run. And then you had the kamikaze pilots, and they was like, white folks was like, I've never seen these people are willing to die for a cause,
right?
And they're not trying to do like we do, stand behind get a submarine that shoots a cruise missile, travels 50 feet and blows somebody up and sends a missile through your bedroom window. They're going face to face and making it happen. And that's the scary thing about terrorists. It's because they're dedicated to taking the L.
Right.
I'm willing to
do it. You can't fight that.
You can't fight that.
You can't fight that.
You can't fight that. And so when he pulls out and says, "Look, I'm done."
Yeah.
Not I'm done if you do this.
No, I'm done.
I'm done. I'm not doing this.
I'm not doing it anymore.
Well, how could you don't love me? Yeah. What does that have to do with my decision? I'm putting myself first. And in the process of me putting myself first, I'm willing to do this. I'm I'm willing to take the L. And that's.
So I will give that advice to my friend, and I'm sure he'll be fine with it. He'll be very good.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, it's not a hard one. That one's not a hard one, but
it's
I just like to break it down in exam.
He'll probably
crazy
win.
mentality. Yeah.
He'll probably win, but I don't even want to say that because the focus of this has to be about what the decision that you have at hand.
Right.
Not about the technique, because then you're getting high on your own supply. When I'm going to do this, and then the outcome is going to be this, and then that becomes this kind of chess game that you're playing.
Right. Yeah, and you don't want if you think too much about it, that's when this shit happens.
And the thing is, Patrice. There's a quote from Patrice. We used to talk about this all the time. The only war games was the only way to win the game is to not play at all. And that was his quote from, and that's the truth. I mean, the way I used to say it is, look, if I'll take my ball and go home. I'll take the chessboard. You beating me? I'll take the chessboard.
Congrats.
Flip it.
Yeah.
Flip it. I'm done. I'm not playing no more.
Well, I hope you're happy.
I had you. Yeah, whatever. Prove it.